Brad DeRoche. Welcome to my series on guitar fundamentals. This is lesson 19 on right-hand arpeggios and arpeggio technique. In today's lesson, we're going to focus on the mechanics of right-hand movement in arpeggio technique and some open string arpeggios to go along with it. So let's jump right in. First and foremost, when it comes to arpeggio technique, it's a series of notes played across strings in the right hand, and any combination of fingers can make up an arpeggio. So let's start with just using index, middle, and ring, and no thumb. And even though this isn't maybe the most common way to play an arpeggio, it's a really good one for understanding the mechanics of what we're doing and to help us to start out producing a really good quality sound. So what we're playing here are free strokes. All right, so make sure that each one of the notes that you're playing is indeed a free stroke. I'm going to take a quick side note here. Part of an old school technique that's been taught for many years is to often use a single rest stroke in a free stroke or arpeggio pattern, something like this. So if I were just doing index, middle, and ring finger, I see a lot of people that still do this, where they use a rest stroke on the first string. All right, so that technique survives from the 19th and 20th centuries, in the earlier parts of the 20th century perhaps. I know Segovia used it and some others. And there's nothing really wrong with it unless it becomes your habit and it's the only thing you're able to do. So it can be one way to play a nice big bold sound on the first string, but I would also try to ensure that you could play a good sound with a free stroke. And so for me, arpeggio technique is about playing free strokes. All right, so in previous lessons, we talked about free stroke in the right hand positioning. I'll just quickly recap it. But essentially what we're doing is we're putting the knuckle over top of the string that it's playing. So if you can see the strings here, my knuckle should be over, the index finger knuckle should be over the third string, which it is. And then this is over the second string, this is over the first string. So I set my hand in this position, and then let's just do index, middle, ring, I, M, A in sequence. What I should be listening for here is a consistent quality of sound, so that each finger sounds approximately the same in terms of the tonal quality or character. And then the meter, make sure that things are nice and even rhythmically. All right? And no rest strokes. All right, so not that. That's a very different technique. And so we're going to skip over that and leave that for some other day, or perhaps leave it to the last century. All right. Then once we get comfortable doing this, I would start mixing up the fingers. So instead of I, M, A, let's go A, M, I. So ring finger first. Once that's pretty comfortable, let's start mixing it up a little bit more. How about M, I, A? And so there's only a few of these patterns with ring, middle, and index that I start out with, but they're a great way to start practice. They're very easy, gives you a chance to get in tune with your sound and with your technique. All right, so that's a nice way to start. Then what I would do is I would add the thumb. We can start with any string, but here I'll put it on the fourth string. Let's do a straight P-I-M-A arpeggio. Once again, I'm listening for an even sound quality and even meter, nice steady flow of notes. Now there's one other thing I'd like to throw in here that often helps us with certain arpeggios, mostly when they're in an ascending fashion. We can do a planting in the right hand where we actually plant all of our fingers to start the arpeggio. So if I'm going to do a P-I-M-A arpeggio, I can start by planting all four fingers and then simply releasing one at a time. So my ring finger stayed on the strings until all the other three notes had played. So it's already planted, it's in place. All four fingers are on. So I play the thumb, I and A are still on the string, M and A are still on the string, A is still on the string, and then I plant all four. This is one way to increase speed and control in your playing. It works so much better with ascending arpeggios and not so well with descending ones. So the descending ones, instead of a full plant where all 4 fingers are starting at the same time, we do those in sequence. So if I was going to do, let's say, A, M, I, P, I just put the finger on the string a moment before it needs to play. Slow motion version. So ring finger plays, middle gets ready, it's on the string. Index is on the string. Thumb is on the string. So basically I'm just getting my finger there a little bit ahead of time, and so it allows me to make sure I'm on the right string, it increases accuracy, etc., and speed. So planting can be very useful in arpeggio technique. So a full plant when we're ascending in some kind of an ascending pattern, and a sequential plant when we're going in a descending fashion. Okay, those things really help our arpeggio technique. Now, if you're interested in a whole bunch of open string arpeggios, there's a book that has about 135 of these different patterns with different fingerings in them. It's this book right here by Papararo. It's by Burben, and in here, the first section of this book, he's got all of these open string arpeggios, and so I'm going to go through some of these with you. They're very straightforward, and basically all you have to do is read the fingerings. So if it's thumb, middle ring, or whatever, you can just kind of sort it out from that. So I'll just tell you the fingerings. It's really easy. Number 1 is thumb, middle, ring, PMA. So you can do thumb on the bass string, middle and ring, top 2 strings. So these would be triplets. And what he does in this particular book, in these exercises, he goes, this first one, the bass notes are 6, 5, 4, and 3, and middle and ring are on top 2 strings. So the first step is to make sure I have an even sound and an even meter. Everything is nice and smooth. Sounds are good. And then what we want to do, once we get to the point where that's pretty comfortable, we need to start advancing our expressive devices and start including all the things we talked about in the last couple of lessons. For instance, dynamics. Changes of timbre. And then other articulations like staccato and legato can be also incorporated to a certain degree. Here I'm making the bass note staccato. And the way that I'm doing that is actually have to double back and put the thumb back on the same string it just played. We can also do changes of tempo, speeding up and slowing down. And accents. And so forth. So playing these arpeggios, the pattern themselves are very simple. The patterns themselves are very simple, but it's not just playing the pattern that's good enough. So in Giuliani or in these Papararo arpeggios, just playing the exercise really isn't where all the good stuff is. I mean, that's just step 1. And unfortunately, they don't give you this long list of things to do to the arpeggio. They just give you the notes and the rhythms and leave it at that. And so what I'm trying to do is to help you to get past just playing notes and rhythms and make you more expressive as a player. And we treat this all as part of our fundamental technique. And it really is. I mean, what is our technique but our ability to express ourselves artistically, right? So we have to practice that on a regular basis. So we take these simple arpeggio patterns and then we just start incorporating all these expressive devices, and it makes them sound really cool and helps us to become much more expressive players. And so all the arpeggios on the Papararo book on the first page are a great way to warm up. You could just play through each one a couple of times as a warm-up, but my suggestion would be that you try to add some of these expressive devices, and then you really are getting the most out of your playing. So let's just take a look at a couple more. Number 3, for instance, is thumb, index, middle. That's a really good one to work on. So is number 4. Oh, they all are good, but number 5 is 4 notes. P-I-M-A. Number 6 is thumb first, but then A-M-I backward. Once you get to 7 through 17, they start to mix up some of the directions that the notes are going in. So they're not all going in the same direction, either ascending or just descending. So these ones, they're all really good, but some of the things that I notice in my own playing when I'm playing through these, going through, for instance, number 8, which is P-M-A-M. That's really difficult for me, so I have to work on that quite a bit. The pattern doesn't seem like it would be that hard because P-M-A is quite easier, hands going in that direction, but turning around and getting that middle finger at the end, that's tricky. So anyway, we have to work on these on a regular basis, make them a fundamental part of your practice. Just do these open string arpeggios. Don't treat them as a warm-up. Treat them as real technique and dig in and have a goal and try to improve something in your playing every single day. Don't just mindlessly play through the same stuff over and over. That's not going to make you better. That's just a way to spend time. Might as well be watching reruns of Friends or something. Well, never mind. Go ahead and practice. But make your practice meaningful. Really dig into something and make yourself better each time you sit down and play. And I think you'll find it to be a really worthwhile thing. All right. Hope this helps you. Hope it gets you thinking a little bit more about your technique and your daily routine. And keep practicing and keep improving. And we'll see you in the next lesson. Cheers.